Hello, hello. I don't know what it did with our background there, but it was gone all of a sudden. So, yeah, looks like we got a lot of our usuals and a few new ones out there. Thank you guys for all showing up. Today, we're going to be talking about Drew Smith's week. That's Drew Smith over there from the genealogy guys. And we're going
Nope,
to
the other way.
reveal, yeah, you have to think about it. And then the other way is Christine, and she was his team captain for the week. I'm Mindy Silva, and I'm the overall coordinator of the WikiTree Challenge. Now, in case you don't know what WikiTree is, it's a community of genealogists who are working together on a single family tree. In other words, we work to grow an accurate global tree that connects us all, and it's free. The WikiTree Challenge now is a week where we take a team of WikiTreeers. Christine, you got me there on a genealogist guest stars tree, and we collaborate to make it more accurate and complete than it is anywhere else. Our goal is to improve our accuracy on WikiTree, add more family connections, and make more friends, which we do. This week we worked on the branches of Drew Smith, so now here is Christine to tell you what we found.
Oh dear.
Let's
All
go
right.
next.
So we'll start with Charles Henry Smith. So we knew right away that there was a big collection of letters that had been handed down through the family somewhere. And I know you knew about them, but you didn't know the contents maybe of all of them, and they hadn't been transcribed. So they have been transcribed, and they were combed thoroughly for hints. So from the letters, we know that Philip and his family left Ireland. We know that they left in 1849. We know this is around the time of the potato famine when a lot of families left Ireland. And we know that those ships were not the best places to be. And everybody had cholera on the ship, and a lot of passengers died. And Philip wrote about this to his family, describing how the trip was and how everybody was so sick and how they would throw the bodies overboard into the sea. But they successfully immigrated, and now we have all these letters. We were not able to get anywhere with Charles's paternal line, but I don't know if you want to go to the next slide there, Mindy.
Yeah.
We have parents for Mary Ann Riley.
Ooh.
So we have found her father to be another Philip Riley from County Cavan, Ireland. And his wife's name was Rosina or Rosa Rooney. So there's a whole new family for you.
Woohoo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's always been a mystery. And
Right.
I'm wondering if this will determine who her sort of, well, I say adopted daughter, but the woman she treated as a daughter, which was sometimes called her niece, but I don't know if that.
Yes, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
I think her name was Catherine, if I remember
Kitty.
correctly.
Yeah, it maybe went by Kitty.
Yeah, Catherine
Yeah,
Kitty.
she's buried in the same plot or the same. Yeah, but
yeah.
Cool. But no, that's great. That's great.
And those Irish those banking records are awesome, for when you don't have like a census or something else, to provide you with a location and names and stuff of some of the families in the area.
Interesting. Have you linked me to Mickey Rooney yet? Or
No.
Oh darn.
We're still working
and
on
I think
that.
one of our team members actually might have found the immigration record. They think your family came in 1847 on the Scoodiac from Ireland.
Okay. I don't know about the lock of hair though.
Yeah. So there was another letter, and I don't think we still have narrowed down exactly who that hair belongs to.
Yes.
But have we?
Yeah, we actually have the hair. We just don't have the relation to the family.
Oh,
but
that's what it was.
Kept.
Right.
Yeah, it was kept with the letters that belonged to the cousin you were talking to us about before we went on air. And so that still hasn't been connected, but that family has been fleshed out.
Interesting. Okay.
And the little slip of paper there says, on Thursday last, age 21, John, second son of Mr. B.J. Smith, printer of this town, the estimable qualities he displayed proved a consolation to his family and friends, and make their loss the more to be deplored. His apprenticeship as a compositor on the Suffolk Chronicle terminated but a few weeks since. During the 7 years he was employed in our establishment, it is due to his memory to remark not a single instance occurred in which his conduct called forth a word of reproof. If that isn't high praise, I don't know what is.
And it was really tragic, though, because the man Benjamin Jacob Smith was the father, and he was well known, but his two of his sons died within 2 months of each other. So he lost them very suddenly. It wasn't like they had a long time illness or anything. They were still young and died suddenly. And then 2 years later, his 20-year-old daughter, who had never even married, she died. So he had just a lot of tragedy in that section. So, the team member that was working on this went through and added several generations, just in the hopes that we can continue to work on it and find out how those are related. Because with something as personal as a lock of hair, they have to be
connected somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you mentioned the cholera that Philip talked about on his letters. And I know in another letter that I do remember, he talked about how much there was in Newark, New Jersey, how much illness there was when he was talking, sending letters. I know.
Snail mail.
Before email, snail mail to Mobile, Alabama, talking to his daughter,
Yes.
and other people he knew. But he said how horrible things were in Newark, New Jersey in probably the 1850s. And
if you go in on his profile now that you're allowed,
yes,
you will see all those transcriptions and the copies of the letters.
Yeah.
It's quite fantastic. Yes.
Yes,
I just want to thank my cousin for preserving those, her family in Mobile all the way down to her. I got so lucky.
Oh, certainly. That is just an amazing family, heirloom to have.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yep.
Mary Bannon.
Yes.
Peter
was a bad boy. Oh,
we did not have brick walls. We just had tidbits.
Yeah, we were just finding extra stories.
I love stories.
So he was charged with assaulting a police officer in Oldbury in 1867, but it was dismissed. Now, as it turns out, when everybody was looking for marriage records,
yes,
Mary Ann Hyland, who married William, they were married the same day as her brother to his sister.
Yep, double marriage.
So you have, and we see that all the time.
That's so cool.
It always makes you wonder what the story is, though. Really, was that planned, or I don't know, is there something going on at the time that they both went, let's get married?
Is it just cheaper to do it all at once rather than have two separate weddings?
Right.
And get everybody to travel there once, not have to worry with going to two different weddings? Yeah.
In my family, and recently, not within the last 100 years, not even back in the 1800s, I have 3 siblings married to 3 siblings.
I can't wait to read the story of assaulting the police officer, though. That ought to be pretty good.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. And he was lucky that, nothing really bad happened in the end. But
well, I think because back then you could be sent off. You could be sent to be somebody's indentured servant over here in the new lands. But oh well. Oh, can we skip Wineglass?
No.
Now wait a minute. It's a great. Did Louis do all this? I know Louis was hard at work on the Jewish lines, So.
Oh, there were a number of people that worked on that.
Quite a few. Good. Yes, good. There was a lot of work and a lot of back and forth and a lot of.
Can't wait to go back and read any of that. Yeah. Well, then it's not ezy. At least the names were not Cohen or anything. They were a little more unusual.
It was still hard. Everybody had difficulty actually trying to find records with Wineglass on them.
They get mistranscribed so often, misspelled. Terrible.
It is. It's difficult.
I've seen Winegland, Gland. I've seen, it's all over the place. And wine, Wein,
and
Wine.
it depends on how the person spelled it, and then how their handwriting is. Like if they do the FS for the double S at the end, or
right.
All their little flourishes. So anyway, we found Frumat's parents. Ooh. So you have another set of traits in there.
Yeah, I knew she was a Zorkel, but didn't know anything about her parents. Yep.
So her father is Abraham Zorkel, and her mother is Hinda Bernstein.
Very good. All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't take it further than that. But it's always so hard, when you get caught up in the week and you just keep going, oh, my God, I've only got like 2 days left. Trying to figure out what you can focus on.
And then there's so much of the similar names, and you kind of get lost in it. You got to walk away.
It was tough. I early on when I was working on my grandmother with Rachel, that I thought I had attached her to the wrong parents, because it turns out she had a first cousin, Rachel, that her father's brother had a daughter, Rachel, that was born like 2 years earlier or later. And I'm like, I thought for a little while, maybe I'd been wrong all these years about who my great grandparents were, until I realized, there's 2 cousins named Rachel. So. Yeah.
Yes, we had a couple instances of that too, where people were trying to figure out, and not just in this line, but in other lines as well, where
very definitely
where siblings would have children at the same time and then name them the same thing. Especially when you get into the Irish naming conventions, and you follow like the father's name and then the whatever. So it's been interesting.
All those matching names. And that tree widget, just to point out, is another one of those fun tools and toys we have here on WikiTree, where you can take that and embed it directly into your website or, somewhere else, and it dynamically updates. So if you don't have somebody's grandparent now, when you find it later, it'll go out and refresh itself. So we like our toys here at WikiTree.
We do. All right, Sarah.
Yeah.
Can't skip this.
Sarah. I know
I love Sarah.
This one was a really difficult one as well. Everybody was really trying hard to find anything that they could.
Yeah.
But her father has a father now, Eliezer.
Interesting.
Brodowitz. And her mother Hannah also has parents now. So we have C. Ari Siegel and Elka Nigronich.
Yes.
Nigronich? Wow.
Nigronich.
That's a name I've never seen.
That's an interesting
name. There you go.
And that's a little more unique. So see, they're not all common.
So there's a brand new surname for you too.
I love it. Siegel I had only discovered kind of recently, but I didn't know anything about Baz past that with Hannah. So that's terrific.
Yeah, and we were pretty sure you hadn't seen those tombstone records, because we have exact dates now for all of them. With
if I'd seen them, I couldn't have translated them anyway.
Oh no, they have them in Hebrew at the top.
Oh, they have
English. Have them in English at the bottom.
Oh, okay, all right.
But somebody was trying to encourage somebody to go to a cemetery to hunt down the tombstones, and they said there's only 26,000 of them.
Yeah. He said if I had more time this week, I'd go do it. But there's 26,000 people in that cemetery. So
wow. Which cemetery is that? Do you know?
The Acacia one or one of the other ones?
Oh, okay.
Now, I know the Acacia one was the one we found first, and that had Wineglasses and Grodowitz and some other family members grouped in there.
Yeah. And then I think there was other like corollary people that were found with similar names, and then everybody was trying to tie them also back into your family. But in a week, it
can't be done.
Didn't happen. No. Edmund.
Oh boy.
Wow, Edmund.
They like that name.
We didn't get far with Edmund.
Oh really? Well.
No.
Yeah.
Well, we did.
We didn't get further back. We just found a couple of things about him. We believe that he served as a musician in the Civil War.
Well, that's interesting.
For the Confederacy.
Yeah, well, it's the South. It's South Carolina. Come on, we know that. I know Robert B. King was in the Confederacy as a soldier. He's marked that way, but Edmund, I didn't know if he was he served, but
And there's an article here where himself and a whole bunch of other men, up to even elderly men in their 80s, were rounded up by somebody and arrested. Now, the article doesn't go into, it's an account from somebody who was traveling through, I think it was Saluda, actually.
Oh, yeah. Well, Saluta's the part of, that's part of it. It's a split off county from Edgefield, but yeah.
It was in there, and they were talking about this horrible scene where this gentleman was rounding up all these elderly people and arresting
it's really
them.
quaint too, like, and I was meandering through town, and after I went to the shop here, I was aghast to see them rounding. It was like that. It was awesome.
I love how they used to write. It's amazing.
And then there were two people that they pointed out was kind enough. Like the one guy had his wife was on her deathbed. And so they were going to arrest him and they didn't. And they were like, well, so we did show some kindness, like to those bad Confederates, but yeah. But yes, Edmund was among those that were arrested.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then we didn't get anywhere. We didn't find his mother's maiden name.
Well.
We didn't, there is a possibility we might have found his father in the slave schedules. I don't know what years those were.
Yeah, I know. I know his James, father James. I've seen a probate record where James was going to leave he only had like a single slave, and he was going to leave it to Edmund.
Oh, okay.
A female slave. I don't even remember if she was. I don't even think she was named. I have to go back and look. But yeah, that's the only slave I know that James might have had. He might have had others, but that one was in his probate record. But that was in the 1850s, and James went on to live until the 1880s. I used to joke that James and his wife were the same age in 1850, and every 10 years he would get 10 years older and she'd get 8 years older. And by 1880, she was a good 6 years younger than he was. So yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So Mindy thought she would look up all these Martins.
Really? Do you realize there's even a Martin?
Time on her hands.
There's like a Martin town around there. That is one of the most common names in Edgefield. I have so much free time
on my hands. Yes, I have all this free time.
Yeah, there are. That's why I've had so much trouble. There's so many Martins. I figured one of these days I'm going to get one of my Martin cousins to take a Y-DNA test.
And actually, on the different profiles that we have done for the existing Martins, I think you'll be at least a little bit impressed. We have a lot of information on them. And this is one of the times when we can use something like our space pages, if you haven't seen those. And I know you've been on WikiTree for a long time, because I've seen profiles that you had back to 2011. But, some of the profiles weren't worked since then. So
yeah, probably not.
At any rate, there is a free space page, and it has all of the surname Martin wills in Edgefield district.
Okay.
From 1797 to 1866, I believe.
Neat. Okay.
And then there's also, which actually was looking encouraging, and it looked like James's father was going to be a John. But then if you look at the 1800 Edgefield census, which is also, those are listed there, there's a number of men that did not have wills. So they either had moved on or didn't write a will. It still leaves for some speculation, but it gives you a good place to jump off at next time, and you can do things like look at the land plats or, find other ways to try and connect them. But I still think that John was the most likely. And the ironic thing is, the only reason that James was mentioned in his will is because he said, okay, I leave these to this child and this to this child, and then I want the rest split between my children except for my son James.
Okay. Ooh.
So I'm not sure what the story was, if James had already gotten his whatever from his dad, or if dad just really didn't want to leave anything to the son James. Maybe he fell out of favor. We don't know.
We see a lot of snarky snippets in the wills.
Yeah. I know James and they were living in a part of Edgefield called Pleasant Lane, I think, but I don't know if that might lead to some property records that might lead back to his father. I don't know. But
yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to follow, though.
Mm-hmm.
There was actually one that I was telling Christine, I said, this guy looks like he threw his whole family tree at his well because he does. And he's got this long will. And it's like, and to so-and-so, who is the son of Andrew. By the way, I think Andrew Martin died young and suddenly. Unexpectedly, and to this person who is the daughter of Tammy, and to this person, I mean, he's got his kids, he's got his brother's kids, he's got everybody's kids in the will. So that was the rich brother, I guess, out of all of them. And if we would have had more time this week, we could have just expanded out off of that one will, and seen a little bit more on how those profiles are related. But it gives you another thing to look at.
And I know you're familiar, I'm sure, with Nathaniel Body's large will.
I have seen it. Yeah.
Now it's transcribed.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very nice.
And you can go in, read it. And I think there was even maybe some of the people were linked to the profiles, if I remember, when I was looking at it before. So you can see exactly
did a really nice job on that.
Who's who. Oh, yes. Fantastic.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Now these are the newest. I didn't know about Sarah Ann Elizabeth Fouché's parents until within the last year or so. This is like my newest branch that I've discovered or knew anything about at all. But
okay.
I'd say, but I hadn't seen any I haven't seen this document. I haven't seen any of this. So
right. So there was a lot of effort on her father and her father's line, but there was too many Benjamins, I think,
Benjamin
to
Fouché's,
try to sort out.
yeah.
Somebody, I can't remember who it was, tried to sort out 4 different Benjamins who lived in the same time, and it was just, you couldn't narrow down which one was her father. Never mind.
Right.
Continue back another generation. Now her mother's side, though, that is extended. So Sarah Neely is the daughter of George Neely, who's the son of James Neely, who's the son of another George Neely. George was a big name in there. And George Neely, he is actually a Dar ancestor. Oh. And he supplied the militia during the Revolutionary War in the years 1780 and 1781. Okay. He provided them with whatever I guess they needed. And so he is a Dar ancestor.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the older George Neely, I almost got to give bounty points over this, and I really, really wanted to. His wife was listed as Mary Proctor, I believe. And it was found that his wife to be Agnes, nicknamed Anne. And so that was a correction as far as that it was incorrect on the possibly. The reason I couldn't give bounty points on this is because we don't know when he married her. We could not find, our team members could not find that marriage record anywhere. So, she could have been a second wife. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Marriage records in South Carolina are so difficult. Mm-hmm. They're terrible.
But she did show up. Agnes showed up in two of the land deeds that you'll see on the profile that the team member added there. Nice. And then they said she showed up on the will, but she had to have been in the later probate because I didn't see it on the actual will. But at any rate, I think those 10 bounty points should have gone to that person. But unfortunately, we couldn't find that marriage, or you would have had that also.
Ah, okay.
And Benjamin was also in trouble. You've got a lot of trouble in your tree.
People get written about when they're in trouble. That's why you don't always want good people. Yeah. That's right.
If so all the ancestors were good, we wouldn't hear about them.
He was sued for debt at least 5 times right before he married Sarah Neely, which must have just chafed her father, because when he wrote his will, he left. He bequeathed money to her children from her first marriage, and quite specifically says the children of Addison Grant, my grandchildren, but none to her children by Benjamin.
Wow.
So that's pretty serious. Not just that he left him out, he left those children out.
Wow. So he liked his son Addison, but he didn't like his son-in-law Addison, but he didn't like his son-in-law Benjamin.
Yeah,
That's
he didn't like the
interesting.
bankrupt Benjamin.
Oh well, yeah. And you know, I matched some Grants and Neelys. That's also how I first learned about that, was in DNA. Some of my closest DNA matches were people related to the Grants and the Neelys. And I'm like, okay, I need to. And a late cousin of mine years ago said that she thought that the woman was a Neely, but I never found records. So that's why this was a much more recent thing for me to learn about it.
Okay, now this was the brick wall chart. This is what I use and some of the captains use. And I know you watched our video, so you know we use these.
Yep.
And each one of those yellow spots are the available brick walls that we look for people to fill. And then where the little bees are, and you can see those are all on your dad's side. Sorry, Mom. But
I'm a little surprised. I always thought those were the tougher ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they all
But
wound
I
up over
think
there.
too that because they were anticipated to be tough, everybody gravitated towards the things that were going to be more difficult, just to prove that they could prove it.
Right.
Yeah, and and because there was also so much filled out in, your mom's
on the southern side, there was so
paternal
much.
side,
Yeah, that's true. That's
some
true.
of that's really, really already stretching back.
Particularly the bodies.
Okay, and then we're going to talk a little bit, now that we're done with all the good surprises, about collaboration and how we do things here at WikiTree when we're working on these challenges. Collaboration is key during the challenge, and that's what we're all about. One of the ways that we collaborate is the spreadsheet on the left. We really, really encourage people to use it, because when you wind up to 25 to 30 people working on the same branches, it's really easy to trip over somebody's, work and make somebody lose work. One of the other ways that we collaborate is that G2G post. Now, sometimes we get excited and we go down those rabbit holes and we forget to put things out there. And I think we kind of did that this week. Those rabbit holes were pretty deep. But you'll get a link to that, Drew, so you can see the comments that are out there. That's usually where we claim bounty points or put interesting finds. And I do know that like Lewis has posted a few things out there, and a few people have commented. So that's great. And then
yes, Lewis did a space page actually on, what was that location? Macau?
Or Markova, Poland? Or what,
no.
Is that the one? No?
You just go and you read yourself that space
I'll read it.
And you'll understand.
You're going to have some reading on that. And that's what spurned, came out of the discovery of those tombstones, was that the location was corrected. So what you were seeing in the records was wrong, and that was probably preventing you from finding what you needed, because if we wouldn't have found that, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we did this week.
Cool.
Definitely.
I'm glad you found those.
See, like Christine said, lots of reading you have to do.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled.
And here, of course, is Discord, where we've already talked about. This is our live chat. So this is something, with us being a global site, there are people around the clock that are talking in those rooms about something.
Way past their bedtimes.
Yeah, sometimes they go down those rabbit holes and then they start discussing things. If we want somebody, a second set of eyes, to look at something, we jump in there. There are people that go ahead and, say, hey, I need an obituary for this. Okay. And somebody else is like, I got it. I'll add that. You keep doing what you're doing. Go down that rabbit hole some more. And, we just kind of keep everybody motivated. And it also lets you know kind of what's going on. And then I did want to say this week that, because a few of the lines were so intense, I did notice that we had some quieter people that kind of stayed out of the chat this week and just put their head down and worked really hard. And either way, I do notice, and we all appreciate you. And I know Drew appreciates too, every single person.
Sure. Everybody.
Yeah, that worked on this.
I'm thrilled. You have no idea. Yes.
Okay, and here is where we get our top 5. Most valuable player, MVP. So that, of course, this week was Louisessler. And then for our top 5 overall, second was Elaine Weatherall. These people have all been active every week. Elaine was one of our quieter ones, did a lot of work in the background. Anonymous Sharky. We have Robin Baker, and then Donna Bowman.
And can I say, this is the same Louisessler who said he didn't think he was going to be of any help with anybody in the month of August, except but if there was someone that had Jewish ancestry, he might be able to help then. And that's when I responded and said, Louis, you don't know about my maternal grandmother, my Jewish
Yes.
grandmother? And I'm like, oh, maybe I can help. Yes. So.
Yeah, and he definitely was kept busy this week. And
Yes.
Thanks, Louis. And everybody else, of course, but thank you, Louis.
And then the way that one of the ways that we keep track of how we're doing also is our point system. We're not really in it for the points. We love giving this gift to somebody. It's just an incredible feeling to be able to give this gift, of helping you learn more about your ancestors. But we do keep points, and it helps us know how we're doing and keeps people motivated. And sometimes they get a little competitive, just a little bit. But the big points are for the bounty points. Now, of course, that's 10 points for each brick wall ancestor. So we had 7 brick walls broken. Woohoo! 70 points this week. And then the smaller points were actually for adding the nuclear relatives. And sometimes those can go a lot higher than actually the bounty points do. It really starts adding up after a while. On top of that, we have people that contribute that don't get any points. So you'll get a link to your score sheet, Drew, and when you look at it going, why so-and-so got a 0? Mindy, what were you doing all week? I mean, there's when you work on stuff like the spreadsheet or the space pages, it doesn't count.
Okay.
If we go down a rabbit hole and we add the husband and then we add their kids and then, and we are trying to extend the family so that we make more connections on WikiTree, none of that counts.
Gotcha.
It's just the direct line that does. So yes, those people that have 0s, it means they were active and the system picked them up.
Hopefully they were having fun, at least.
Yeah, I think so. Some really great work went on. And then we had, just to show you how we did this week, we had 319 unique profiles edited this week.
Wow.
So I know some of those people were already on your tree or already on your WikiTree branches, but all of those got some TLC from somebody this week.
Great.
And then for the total edits, these numbers always floor me. We're just here for a week. So every time somebody goes in and fixes a date, adds a source, does something to those direct or nuclear ancestors, it counts. And there are 1,398 total edits during the week, all for you, Drew. So
oh, I'm so lucky. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, really. I mean, I knew y'all would do a fantastic job, but I just couldn't imagine what it would actually look like. So thank you for everything. And thank everybody, really. Yeah, it's been fun. Well, I mean, it's fun, but it's tough, like not looking at the emails I'm getting from the WikiTree updates and just filing them without opening them. It's like, that's Christmas without shaking the packages.
I know, and even the people, like we had Louis, of course, was a guest for 1 week, and we'll have Melanie upcoming. We just take their participation role away so that they don't see the Discord room. They don't have to uninstall it or anything. But we can't stop the newsletters. So yes, you get those emails. Or you get, do you approve the merge between these 2 duplicate profiles? And of course,
that was the first one I got, was one of those. And I'm like, I got to stop looking at this stuff. No, I don't.
Makes you want to go look though, Hannah. You're like, who's merging that? What happened?
Mm-hmm. No, I just filed them I just put them aside, filed them in a folder in
Mindy
Gmail.
already took care of it, so don't worry about it.
Okay, but that was kind of funny. Even this morning, I was texting with my brother, who may be, I think, online, but he was telling me something about the letters and something. I'm like, don't spoil it for me, And he's like, oh, sorry, So something about the ships that they came in on or something. So
yeah, and that was probably once again, you'll get to read that, but that was probably where she had transcribed all of those letters and found that one ship name, and it actually led her to those additional migration, like the passenger list and stuff.
See, I had no idea even the passenger. Yeah, I never thought about it. If I had seen those names 6 years ago, I totally had forgotten about them. So so thank you. That.
Yeah, it was 2 ships that we found. It was Philip and Catherine.
Was Columbia
came in on the Columbia?
Yeah, that was.
And then
the other
Riley's
one I didn't.
Came in on the Scudiac.
Yeah, I had never heard that one before at all, or didn't know about that one. Yeah.
It just amazes me that people can even find stuff like that.
I know.
Well,
I go back 100 years and I'm done. All my lines end in Ireland and I'm toast.
Well, that's one of the great things though about the mix of people that we have, and people from different projects and people from different countries. And, even the ones that live in the same place. Like I'm in the United States, so other people in the United States, I'm like, "Oh, here, look at this record. This probably has what you have." But then, next time it's their turn and they're like, "Have you looked here at this site? This is a really good site to use." So we all
Mhm.
kind of pull resources, and that's not something that you generally have when you're doing your own family tree. And it's just really nice to be able to do that and reach out. And then we're all learning too, so when we do like the Polish records, we're like, "Ooh, that's good practice for next time when I do this." And then more people jump in and kind of help with it. So
Well, I'm looking forward to the citations just to see, yeah, what records that I probably never thought to look at are going to be listed there for sources. I can't wait to see that. So,
yeah, well, I hope we at least met your expectations on how everyone did, because everyone had a blast working on your branches this week.
that's all I really wanted to have happen. Everybody have a fun time. That's
We
really,
even
I mean,
found the actual marriage record for Louis, Wineglass, and Sarah Grodovich.
and
The actual written register.
did it
There's a copy of it.
say Grodovich or did it say
It said Levy.
Levy?
Yeah.
See, that's still a mystery, and I've shared that with every Jewish
Oh.
genealogist I know. Why is it Levy and not Grodovich? Because
Not
it's
sure.
like, you know why? Or did you find
No,
out
we
why?
don't. No.
Oh,
Not
that's
completely,
No.
but you'll have to read the notes
Louis
on it.
tried. Louis
okay.
tried so hard.
I've asked every well-known Jewish genealogist I know, why is that? Because
Well,
we actually kind of laid it down to maybe the rabbi just had a bad day and wrote down the wrong name.
Well, the rabbi coincidentally was a seagull.
Oh, so you could have a family, a relative, maybe.
Well, and even within our own group, they really changed their mind several times during the week.
Yes.
So, one day they were like, "No, it's Kratowitz," and the next day they were like,
Team Levy.
"Everybody
Team
throw that
Kratowitz.
out. It's
Or he
Levy."
was married once before. I'm like,
and-
no,
Well,
he
and
wasn't.
his mother, her mother shows up as Levy with Levy in her name at some point, also, which kind of confuses things. Although it is not that uncommon to use your mother's maiden name included in your name. So we thought maybe he just didn't, put the entire thing.
Oh,
But also that it could have been Levy. It was thought at one point was just meant to be the Levite, like saying what their religion was, and he hadn't put her actual surname down. So I don't know. It made for some lively conversations, and
you know what's
people
really
went
fun
back
to
and
do
forth.
is research the rabbi. That's always fun to do, and find out where they lived and all, and where did they live in conjunction with where did Louis or Sarah live, and that's really interesting too. If you try to
We're
put them on a
done,
map.
so that's your job now.
I know, but I did that years ago and looked at it once, but it's probably time to visit that
I know,
again.
and actually, there are
So,
some really wonderful books online right now that follow the history of the churches there in the areas like Edgefield, and talk
oh yeah,
about the different,
the ministers and so forth,
yes.
like Jane's brother, Reverend Jesse Pitt's body. Yep.
And they have some good, history about a little bit of history about the area too. I was a little disappointed because it didn't have more about the people. It's like, oh, we only had 12 people sign that this year. Our charter, thing for the town. And you're like, okay, well, tell me who the 12 people were. And they're like, oh, it was these two guys and then it's 10 other people. And
Didn't
that was
name
all
them.
they put, they didn't even put the names down. I was like, no, give us name. We want names. I want to go
Right.
back to so many ancestors and say, would you write that down, please, dear?
Well, you're not supposed to give me more stuff to do until I retire, but that's great. Still, that's so. Yep, Louis is right. Yep, that's gonna be a lot of Rabbi Siegels.
That'd be a lot of people to go through.
So,
do we have any other questions before we go from the viewers? I think a lot of them, I noticed a couple of comments go by, were surprised, Drew, that they weren't closer to you, because usually when we start branching out those lines like we did, the cousin connection gets closer. It's really easy on WikiTree to go, oh, how close am I to Drew?
which I would have
Okay.
expected more on Mom's side anyway, but yeah, with the bodies and as I've said, the Pittses and maybe the Warrens, but yeah, those, yeah, I wouldn't expect any on the Smiths, Rileys, Bannons, Highlands, and And
Well,
yeah,
but maybe now that those names are out there and
out
we
there.
flesh those out a little bit, other
Right.
people kind of add to it, and those
Sure.
connections will get better.
That's great. I would look forward to hearing from those cousins. Maybe they'll have letters like my cousin in
And
Houston,
lots of
Texas.
hair.
Yeah, those are just wonderful
That's
finds.
amazing. Yeah, that
It's
is just so amazing.
yeah, and that's all because my brother he went to a presentation I made at a National Genealogical Society conference in Charleston on blogging for genealogy, and he went home and started a blog because of that, and then talked about our great great grandmother Mary Ann Riley Smith and her business and the letterhead of her business, and that's how my cousin found me through my brother's blog because she had that letter on letterhead.
Wow.
So I know that was like, and oh,
Wow.
and this isn't a good story, but it's, I often wondered, how did my great great grandmother end up with the glass factory? How did, and because she got it from her son who couldn't make a go of it. And I wondered why he couldn't make a go of it. And I had a suspicion, but I wasn't sure. And one of those letters says to his cousin in Mobile, Alabama, that his brother couldn't make a go of it because of drinking. And it's
Oh,
like, okay, and that was the story. So, and unfortunately, all those boys died pretty young too. So, sadly,
yeah.
yep. But so it's not all
It is
good
sad.
news in letters, but history is history. You have to take it all.
Yeah, and sometimes, like you said before, the things that may be tragic or really difficult are why extra things were recorded. So sometimes you're just really thankful to stumble upon those stories
Yeah.
and find out more about those families. It's really hard in some of the earlier areas to go back and find things like vital records. When
Oh
birth
yeah.
certificates weren't even required, and you're trying to figure out how many kids they have. There is one of yours you'll find that just says son and daughter in the list of children because they were in the census records, of course, when they just did the hash marks.
Oh,
So
right.
by the time they actually wrote the names down, those two children had moved,
Aged out.
out.
Yep. Right.
And there's no death record showing up yet saying who they are. So
Right.
yeah, that kind of stuff is just part of it all, I guess.
So, well, again, I hope everybody had a good time because that's ultimately what it comes down to when we do this stuff is we're enjoying ourselves, learning and connecting people. So, but it should be fun. And I'd say you all make it a lot of fun.
So we certainly have fun making the connections and giving these gifts. So I think now, unless anybody else has got any questions, I got to pop up a reminder. Next week is going to be a rest week. So go ahead and take the week off. You guys have done an amazing job. You all deserve a good hand. And take the week off, and then we'll come back with another guest for week 33. And thank you all for watching. Thank all of you participants out there, especially the ones that go in there silently and do all that work in the background. We appreciate you also. The ones that are active in Discord, you already know we appreciate you because we tell you in there all the time. And anybody watching this and helping us keep this challenge alive, thank you as well. So if you want to check us out, you can look at wikitree.com and you can subscribe to this channel to receive alerts. Otherwise, I think we're out.